now I will record. And yeah, so and it will be available through the EAP office. Just in case you want a recording, of course you're welcome to ask for that via Ern, who is also with us today. Say hi to Ern. um, so again, welcome to the 5th edition of EIAP's Climate Justice Program. The E4SD program has been running since 2021, I believe, which is a platform, a space for EIAP affiliated unions to exchange ideas and strategies in demanding climate justice and a just transition for the education sector. So for this edition, we have invited our brothers and sisters from Southeast Asia to share their experiences and achievements in executing or implementing or facilitating their national climate action plans. Based on their experiences, we would also like to hear their key demands and priorities in pushing for quality climate education for all in Southeast Asia. Because of course, we know there are nuances to our contexts, versus what Southeast Asian nations would probably focus on versus other regions in the world. So today we are joined by our esteemed colleagues from PGRI, NATO-ACT from the Philippines, and NUTP from Malaysia. We are very grateful for your time and efforts, and of course, this webinar could not succeed without the participation of our audience. So we also encourage you to participate as much as you can. So to start the webinar, I would like to hand over the program to our regional director, Anand Singh, for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Elena, and good afternoon, colleagues. It's my honor to welcome you to this 5th edition of EIAP Climate Justice Series, a series of dialogues we started in 2021 that are designed to strengthen the knowledge and capacities of our members on the foundation of science, policies, and social issues concerning climate change. It is also a platform for our unions to convene and strengthen solidarity for climate justice and a just transition in the education sector. Colleagues, 2024 illustrated yet again the many challenges that educators are facing amidst accelerating climate change. During the summer months, the classrooms in Asia Pacific region, including in India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Philippines, became so unbearable due to rising temperatures and prolonged heat waves. In several countries, such as Philippines and Bangladesh, classes had to be suspended or shifted into online mode for several days, even weeks, bringing up the same unresolved issues such as the lack of resources and training for remote learning that COVID-19 triggered 4 years ago. We met some of our colleagues from Philippines last week, and they reported that even now, though the summer has not started fully, the classrooms are closed. The learning has shifted to online mode due to extreme weather conditions. Colleagues, we also have received reports of educators in India collapsing due to extreme heat, with some unconfirmed reports of deaths. In 2024, more than 400 million students globally were affected by extreme temperatures, according to World Bank, which means that as a climate crisis intensifies, this number will only go up. Beyond the classrooms, extreme temperatures are also hindering sustainable development in the Asia Pacific region by disrupting economic activities. In Indonesia, for example, the intensifying dry weather has affected the agricultural sector, causing the price of rice to soar. In Thailand, the biodiversity of corals is in danger, which could have serious repercussions for country's ecology and thereby affecting its tourism business. Meanwhile, the Philippines was visited by 6 typhoons in just 30 days last year. And we were also like me and my colleague were also stuck in one of those typhoons, resulting in an estimated economic loss of around $500 million only in Philippines. Colleagues, hearing this news can bring a sense of doom, especially as governments continue to cut down funds that could solve the climate and education crisis. But I choose to believe in the power of our unions and potential of our collective actions. That was demonstrated at our 3rd E4SD conference in Bangkok last year, where education unions gather to strengthen their capacities and strategize more effectively for climate justice and a just transition. After crafting a national climate action at the conference, Southeast Asian unions brought these learnings and vision back to their respective countries. In the last year, I'm proud to say that education unions in Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia, and the Philippines and other countries were hard at work mobilizing educators, unions, and students. In Malaysia, for example, our colleagues at NUTP held various awareness-raising activities that aim to gather students, teachers, school administrative staff, and local community leaders, and instill a deep understanding of climate change and inspire a sense of responsibility towards environmental conservation. Meanwhile, our colleagues in Indonesia and the Philippines held several separate online and in-person workshops and conferences where more than 300 members joined collectively. These events were designed to provide a platform for knowledge sharing, dialogue, and collaboration among educators working to raise awareness on the climate crisis for their students and their communities. The lessons learned from these activities have been invaluable. As I'm sure our colleagues from PGRI, NATTO-ACT, and NUTP will confirm. We are delighted to hear and learn from them today. Each of our speakers will be talking about their key demands for quality climate education for all in the ASEAN region, which we hope can spark some conversation within our unions and support our work in pushing for climate justice and just transition for educators in the Asia Pacific region. Colleagues, I hope that you take this opportunity to learn from the hard work of our brothers and sisters in Southeast Asia. I also encourage you to contribute your insights and experiences throughout the discussion. I hope you can also encourage other colleagues to join our next event so that we may broaden the reach of our program, build solidarity among our ranks in fighting for a just and climate resilient world for educators and the communities. Thank you for your participation, and I look forward to a meaningful and lively discussion. Thank you once again, and over to you, Alana.
Thank you very much, Anand, for your encouraging words and for the recap. But before anything else, I would like to acknowledge that we have 64 participants on our webinar. That makes me very happy. Please, can we all please take a photo? I'd like to take a screenshot first. Please turn on your cameras if you can, and let's take a photo yeah. And okay, 1, 2, 3, and one more. Well, actually, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. All right. I got really excited. Anyway, so we'd like to start, of course, the program by inviting our first speaker. Unfortunately, Mr. Azizan bin Samsudin of NUTP Malaysia could not make it because of another commitment. But we are happy that Ms. Norza binti Muhammad, the Vice President of NUTP Malaysia, will be joining us today. Ms. Muhammad was directly involved in NUTP's Climate is Our Friend Awareness Raising Day, and I am excited to hear more about this initiative. So please, may I call on Ms. Norza? You're muted. Wait, let me also make you a co-host. Sorry, you can share. Can you share your screen? I can also share it for you, but you're muted.
Unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yep, yeah. Let me share your PowerPoint here. Oh, sorry.
All right.
Sorry. This is the wrong PowerPoint. Can you see? Okay.
The
All
latest one. All right. Okay, should I start now?
Yes, please.
All right. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to all the visitor speaker, educator, and participant joining us from across the world. It is an honor to be here representing Malaysia in the E4SD Climate Justice Series. Before we begin, I would like to inform you, one more time, that Mr. Azizan, who was initially scheduled to present, is unable to join us today. So I'm here to share our experience because my school also participate in this program. Okay, next. All right, it is Educator for Sustainable Project. Actually, this Educator for Sustainable Project initiative under the NUTP, Malaysia is committed to empowering teachers with the knowledge and tool to educate students about climate change effectively. This initiative highlighted the crucial role of educator as catalyst for change, ensuring that scientific insight translate into practical actions. Okay, in Malaysia, actually, this program was implemented in 6 schools, covering preschool, primary, and secondary school level, ensuring a broad reach and impact. Yes, next. Okay, which is as SK Kuala Penoperahan, there is a preschool. SMK Kija Terengganu, which is my school, secondary school. SK Dato' Hashim Kelantan, primary school. SMK Bukit Kati Melaka, secondary school. SK Jalan Belami Kuala Lumpur, primary school. And SMK Kidirun Sarawak, which is located at Sarawak. All right, next. Okay, the implementation of this program followed a structured process. First, we need to state the participant and paperwork submission. School need to submit proposal which were reviewed and selected by the NUTP Secretary General. And then second one, funding allocation. Selected school will receive support from the EAP funds. And next, we're going to launch the program, which is officially inaugurated by the NUTP President or Secretary General. They will come to our school to officially launch the program. And next, we need to do a report and compilation. Each school need to submit a report detailing activities and outcome, which will compile to assess impact and future improvements. And then I like to share with all of you also. My school also, when we did this project, actually we also won the prize, 12,000 from government. This means that we joined 2 activities in one time. Okay, next, outcome of the project. Actually, this initiative has led to several significant outcomes. One is increase the visibility of education international. The program actually highlighted the role of education international in climate action and teacher advocacy. A recorded speech by Mr. Anand was played during the officiating ceremony at all participating schools. And then second, it also increased climate awareness. Students were engaged in climate education through videos, hands-on activity, and also competition at school, and also at the state and national level. Next, action-oriented engagement. School conducted tree planting, clean-ups, and environmental competition, which this encouraged students to take direct action in environmental conversations. And next is social media awareness. NUTP actually published 3 articles on sustainability on its website and social media platform to expand outreach. Or next. Back. Please, thank you. No, next. All right. Okay, Climate is Our Friend Awareness Rising Day. As part of this program, we launched the Climate is Our Friend Awareness Day 2024. School organized activity to promote sustainability, instilling environmental responsibility in students from an early age. This initiative fostered collaboration between educators, students, and local communities, strengthening our collective commitment to climate action. So here are some snapshots of the impactful activities conducted by our school. This is showcasing student engagement in climate education, hand-on sustainability effort, and community-driven initiative. This is conducted by or E4 school that have been take part in this program actually. There we have, of course, we have competitions, which is we use a scrap to make something usable, and then we also have planting trees, and we also teach the kids how to plant a tree at school. Okay, next. Yeah, we also use we also show a campaign through this program in order to make the student and also the teacher with the community aware about the climate is our friends and awareness raising day. Okay, next. So why quality education matter in climate actions? Now let's shift our focus to the education system and why quality education is critical in addressing climate change. For students to become future sustainability leaders, education must be accessible, relevant, and action-driven. However, there are still gaps in Malaysia's education system that needs to be addressed. This is why we propose 3 key demands to improve education for a sustainable future. Okay, next. Demand number 1, integrating climate education into the curriculum. The first key demand is to integrate climate education across all subjects, not just in science. Climate change is a multidisciplinary issue, and students should be learning about it in geographically, economics, and even language study. So how? By hand-on learning activities such as tree planting, waste management, and environmental project should be standard practice in school. Next, we also propose that the Ministry of Education establish a clear framework to make sustainability education mandatory. Okay, next, demand number 2. Demand number 2 is bringing the digital divide for inclusive learning. Our second demand is to bridge the digital divide, ensure equal access to digital learning for all students, okay, regardless of location or socio-economic background. Okay, we also need to expand, demand number 2, still demand number 2. Expanding internet access in rural and in indigenous community. Okay, thank you. By provide iPads, laptops, and digital tools for students from underprivileged background, because we know that which is students from underprivileged background, they couldn't afford to have iPad, laptops, and also other digital learning tools. And next, we also need to train teachers in digital pedagogy to enhance online learnings. Okay, next, we're going to demand number 3. Finally, we must strengthen teachers' capacity and increase community engagement to drive long-term change by mandatory climate literacy and digital skill training for teachers. Okay, and the school also should collaborate with NGOs, industries, and community to create real-world learning experience for students. So we need to make sure that students have an experience on their own. And then we also need to introduce a green school initiative where schools compete and collaborate to develop the most sustainable and eco-friendly campus. Okay, like green school initiative, actually, like what we have implemented in our school, we have a mini garden in the classroom. So students at the same time they're going to have a healthy environment, and at the same time they also learn how to plant small tree in the classroom, which can give them benefits. Okay, and I think that to summarize, our 3 key demands for quality education in Malaysia are integrate climate education into the curriculum. Second, bridge the digital divide for inclusive learning. Third, strengthening teacher capacity and community engagement. Okay, by addressing these 3 areas, we believe that we can create a more equitable and future-ready education system in Malaysia. And now, I would like to hear from our fellow educator from other countries. How has your education system approached climate education? What are the best practices that have worked in your school? So let's collaborate and share ideas to build a stronger, more sustainable future through education. So for more information about our initiative, you all can visit our website at nutphq.org. I repeat, nutphq.org. Then thank you for your attention. It has been an honor to share Malaysian experience in this critical movement for climate education. I look forward in engaging in future discussion and working together toward a sustainable futures. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Norsa. That was really great. I really like the part, especially about bridging the gap on digital skills and, of course, training for climate literacy among teachers, because I think that's crucial. Getting the foundation on climate science and, of course, historical context is really key to understanding the climate crisis. And I agree. Of course. Later on, I would like to ask a few questions, of course, about what kinds of strategies you found effective and why was it important for you to to start with primary school at the primary school level. Well, anyway, it's very exciting for me, at least. I would like now to invite our next speaker, who is Miss Mega Novita of PGRI. Miss Mega, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, do you have a
Am I
power?
audible?
Would you like to?
Am I audible? Yes.
Yes, you're audible.
Right.
Let me see if you can share.
I can share my screen.
All right, can you share? All right, thank you very much.
I have to be in co-host mode. Can you please?
You cannot share. Wait.
Yeah, I cannot share because host disabled participant screen
All right,
sharing.
I think you are co-host now.
All right, wait. Oh yes, I can do that now. All right. So you're seeing my screen now? All right, I put it in the full screen. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be on the screen today. I'd like to present our Teachers Union PGRI's contribution to the international climate education as the part of E4SD Climate Justice Series number 5. These initiatives focuses on how Southeast Asian educators advocate for climate justice and a just transition. So, as you know, PGRI or Persatuan Guru Republik Indonesia is Indonesia's largest teachers association, founded in 1945 with over 3.3 million members nationwide. Our mission is to empower teachers and improve the education quality. Our vision is to ensure quality education for all Indonesian students. We have the commitment that PGRI manages schools and universities supporting teachers and underprivileged communities in achieving equality education. So I would like to share with you our activities last year. It was international conference held on December 2nd, 2024, and we invited speakers and the keynote speakers. Let me check. We have 2 keynote speakers. There are Ibu Professor Unifa Rosidi and Mr. Anand Singh was there. And we have the resources persons, 9 resource persons. There are Maus Mokhtar from Timor-Leste, National Project Coordinator ILO for Indonesia and Timor-Leste, Ibu Maki Katsuno Hayashikawa, Director of UNESCO Jakarta, Professor Heri Hermansa, University of Indonesia, and then we have Bapak Doni Kusuma, Education Analyst, and Dr. Sabtono Nugrehadi as the practitioners from Salatiga, small city. Then we have also international speakers from Turkey, Nigeria, and also Poland. And it was attended by 142 participants, consists of PGRI leaders and members from Jakarta, Bogor, Depok, Tangerang, and Bekasi educators, and small school administrators, university lecturers also. there were 589 participants joined online from Zoom, and 473 participants joined online via YouTube, our YouTube channel. So there are the documentation of our conferences at the time. And in that conference, we talk about the climate change and the human health-related illness, infectious disease, respiratory issue, water, food security, and the mental health problem. Then we also, wait a moment, the screen is frozen. All right. And we also show to the participants that who is suffering in the case of climate change. Low-income communities, indigenous population, countries in the global southeast, like Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. Then children and future generation, marginalized groups. Then we also underline the climate justice action steps. There are sustainable housing management, such as use eco-friendly materials in construction to reduce carbon footprint and increase the energy efficiency. The workplace policies, such as working hours and rest periods, adjust the working hours, rest periods to protect workers from heat stress and extreme weather with solutions like cooling technology. Then health services accessibility, provide clean water and air solutions using chemistry to develop affordable purification system for healthcare facilities. Next, the economic support and innovation, offer financial support and promote green chemistry business, enabling low carbon economic transition in vulnerable communities. Then finally, we also support the protection of vulnerable groups, ensure policies to safeguard marginalized groups from climate impacts, such as developing disaster-resistant shelters and water system. Then the impact and outcomes of our activity on that conference, the seminar impact, enhancing educators' capacity in climate education, establishing collaborative networks among educational organizations, and the policy recommendation for climate education integration. Then the follow-up actions, the implementation of new programs and initiatives post-seminar. This initiative is driven with the local small community in the PGRI in the province level. We also organize a small conference, small workshop for more close relation with the audience. Then expanding global collaboration to drive the climate awareness, I will show you later, and strengthening the educational policies for sustainable development. So here is the picture, brochure flyer for the Edu Climate 2025. It's a pelatihan digital online workshop for PGRI in the province level. We have 4 sessions online, three online and 1 offline, and also the self-assessment, totally 32 hours of training with various topics of each session. Then we also do collaboration with Korean Teacher Association, KCTU. It was in 13 February 2025. We invited one Korean Teacher Union, Mr. Wang, to be in the part of our workshop. Then we also give assignment to the participants, to the audience at the time, for 3 online session, 1 offline session, the climate change education poster. So we ask the audience to make a poster. The next session also, we ask the audience, the participants, to make a video education for the climate change related topic. So first one is it's just a sample for the poster. Then if you want to learn more about our activities, you can also search from our YouTube recording video in this QR. Then here we have 3 key demands for quality education for all. The first one, capacity building programs for teachers, training teachers on climate change topics, and sustainable teaching methods. It can be online, offline, or hybrid, like what we did in the previous workshops, providing workshops and resources to enhance climate literacy in classroom. So in our opinion, one-time workshop or one-time training is not enough. So it should be a series, four times online or in different topics, like what we did. Then number 2, school infrastructure and student awareness program, developing eco-friendly school infrastructure such as renewable energy use, water conservation system, solar panel, etc. Conducting student engagement programs, campaigns, and competitions on environmental sustainability. These will be organized maybe in the near future, like competition for students in creating poster, creating video, or short movie, kind of that, and even some kinds of recycled product. It can be done also. Then number 3, integrating climate change into the extracurricular activities. We understand that integrating the climate education into curriculum is a bit tough work. So what we can do, like with a shorter period, is start with the extracurricular activities. Establishing extracurricular programs focus on sustainability, like eco clubs, tree planting, waste management initiatives. Then the future goals and vision in these, I show you like the short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals in the future. With us being together, supports each other. The short-term goals, the first one, enhancing teacher competence. This is very important because a teacher will lead us to goes down to the students level. Eco-friendly school infrastructure, also very important. Trees, infrastructure like shelter also, and then power plant. Then this one, solar panel. The midterm goals, like schools as role models. So we need models, school models for these kind of ideas because people tends to see. To do based on what they see. We need the proof first. So we need the school as role models, and then innovation in sustainable education. Then in this case, innovation in sustainable education means we cannot do it alone. We have to work together, not only in the educational partners like only schools, or we have to work with the researcher also, and even level of company or NGO also. Then a stronger community engagement. So, actually Indonesia is very strong in case of community service. So in part of this term, like community service, we can use any means to pass through the information from the students to the community can be faster, not only in the terms of school, but also in the society. It can be spread, the information can be distributed very faster. Then long-term goals, more than 5 years. Then we have nationwide climate literate education, a generation of green leaders, we call it green leaders, then positive environmental impact. That's all that we can share with you for today. We can discuss if you are interested in the Q&A session, right? Again, hidup guru, hidup PGRI, solidaritas. Yes. Thank you so much, Alana.
Thank you so much, Mega. That was a wonderful presentation and quite comprehensive about your plans. I really appreciate the outline of, from a short-term goal to a long-term vision. I think that's very important to have, a bigger picture in mind. So thank you very much, Mega, and I'd love to discuss more about this your initiative during the Q&A. For now, I would like to invite our next speaker, Dr. Avelino Caraan of NATO, or Dr. Abel Caraan, if that's it's a friendlier way to call him. He will now, please go ahead and start.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon, Sister Alana, and to all our web attendees this afternoon. It is my pleasure to present to you the project implementation that we had jointly coordinated with TAPS. May I know if the screen is now visible on your part? Thank you very much for the confirmation. So allow me to have a little background information as regards to the presentation. This is in response and in compliance with our commitment to Southeast Asian Educators Stand for Climate Justice and a Just Transition E4SD 2024 recap. And the presenter is the National Alliance of Teachers and Office Workers, but definitely this presentation has been enriched with the inputs coming from Sis Milagros Ogalinda, Sis Aileen Montalban, Sara Gabrantina, Reina Rose Yalong, and Teresa Agustin of TAPS. And this is the flow of my presentation, if you can see it here. First is the National Climate Action or NCAP background information. You mentioned earlier as regards our participation last year in Bangkok. Definitely, we're going to have a recollection of what we had experienced from that day and participation towards attainment of this work. And of course, we also have to present to you the joint NATO and TAPS NCAP implementation. What were the insights, inputs, and the output that we had made? And what were the ways forward or the 3 key demands for quality climate education for all? And first on the list is about our background information regarding the National Climate Action Plan. So most likely, every invited organization of EI which participated last year had come up with a plan. And this plan was drafted and finalized also in Bangkok, Thailand, last April 17 to 19, 2024. And it was co-created by 13 participants. So we have the distribution there. The budget allocation, as mentioned by Brother Anand, roughly estimated of $5,000 were provided to us. And the main goal is to promote and raise awareness about the climate impact to education. We had identified 2 major activities, the Climate Summit that had been entrusted to the leadership of NATO and TAPS, and the presentation of the manifesto, which was taken care of the ACT and FFW. On my right screen, you can see there the exact declaration that we have made in our National Climate Action Plan last year. And a copy of this is available from the EI Regional Office. And we are also happy that we are able to meet the expectations of this plan. So this is the conduct of the first activity under the National Climate Action Plan, which was jointly organized by NATO and TAPS. So it was a 2-day national summit on climate justice and just transitions conducted on November 16 and 17, 2024 in Baguio City. You know, sisters and brothers, because of the inclement weather that we had experienced, a series of typhoons that happened in just a matter of weeks, okay, we had moved several times the conduct of this activity. So this is how the impact of the climate change had made to our activities. However, we are also happy because this activity served as a significant gathering for teacher leaders, youth and women, and community advocates committed to fostering a sustainable future. So these are some of the photo documentation that had transpired. And with 32 delegates, this event provided a platform for meaningful dialogue and collective action aimed at navigating the complexities of climate justice within the education sector and beyond. Also, this has been envisioned to be a launching venue where the 4 affiliates of EIAP will exhaust all possible means to taking lead towards quality climate education. And these are the inputs, insights, inputs, and the outputs. As regards insight, the first day featured a thought-provoking session led by Ms. Lily Hamias, a dedicated registered forester and environmentalist who emphasized the critical role of community engagement in environmental efforts. We have other speakers that include Brother John Paul Sison, Brother Don Eric Bonus, and they too provided critical points as regards to our vision in making our Philippine unions responsive to the challenging times. And the inputs, the open forum provided a space for participants to reflect on their own union activities, share best practices, and discuss challenges they face in their advocacy efforts. And the output is the consolidation of these thoughts into a cohesive manifesto, which provided a tangible outcome of their collaborative efforts beyond curriculum. So this is a sample of the manifesto as the input of our national summit. And a copy of this was also provided to EIAP. So ways forward, as requested, to identify the 3 key demands for quality climate education for all. We had identified climate justice and education, workers' rights and economic transition, community engagement, and sustainability. But as teachers and teachers union, allow us to focus on the climate justice and education. Take note, sisters and brothers, during the National Summit on Climate Justice and Just Transitions, it was multi-sectoral, comprising of trade unions, tripartite bodies, as well as environmentalists. So we are happy that we had identified exactly what we want to do, and these are reflected in the manifesto. So this would be focusing on climate justice and education, particularly the right to education, wherein we recognize climate justice as integral to human rights and social justice, and the right to climate education calling for incorporating climate change and environmental justice into the national curriculum, because sadly, even though these are translated in the pronouncement, but in the actual conduct of our curriculum implementation, there is no concrete evidence that we are meeting such expectation. We also want to emphasize practical education on climate resilience and disaster preparedness. As regards inclusive education, sisters and brothers, we wish to advocate for a comprehensive climate education approach that includes marginalized communities and indigenous peoples, and public investment in education for climate action, demanding increased investment in education focusing on climate challenges. And these are also some of the photo documentations that were taken or that had been provided to us by our affiliates who had taken lead roles in the respective school initiatives in line with our climate justice and just transition. So these are elementary pupils wherein they were given opportunity to work together and appreciate their roles to the overall goals of climate justice and just transition. So the photos themselves will give you the meanings of their respective actions. And also, these are some of the direct products of our students' outputs. These are the recycled materials. We have a yearly conduct of Eco-Fashionista, or the utilization of recycled materials, turning them into a fashion. So in that way, we are promoting recycling as well as efforts in making sure that we are not just using one time, big time, but we are continuously working on those things. And in some schools and academic divisions, related works and posters were also prepared in observance of the Human Rights Week. And we had researchers from India. We had toured them in our school, and they were amazed with what they had found as regards to the direct student outputs in line with our efforts to climate justice and just transitions. So, sisters and brothers, these are some of the texts that are reflected in our manifesto. This has been signed by the members of the EI affiliates, and a copy of this had been sent to appropriate government agencies that have roles in mitigating the impacts of climate change in the country. So as an emphasized earlier on, we wish to have the climate justice and the right to education, right to climate education, and inclusive education. While these are flowery in words, but we would like to make it a point that the unions will really have an active role in the realization of our ultimate goal as regards our commitment to the National Climate Action Plan. And for other news as well as photos, please you can visit us in our website as well as in our Facebook. So you can see there our write-ups in terms of our commitment towards this goal. And we wish you a good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for listening to the reports of NATO and TAPS. Once again, thank you very much, sisters and brothers.
Thank you very much, Sir Abel. That was a really great presentation, and I especially love the what do you call this, the reframing of climate education, not just as of course it's integral, but also that now it should be a right. I think that's a really good that's an amazing way to move forward. Recognizing it not just as an addition to our to education, but actually it should be a right. So thank you very much. I have other questions for you later, but I'll reserve that for our Q&A. Now I would like to call on Miss Ruby Bernardo for her for her presentation. Last year, ACT was also active. I remember in addressing heat stress in the classroom when the Philippines was blanketed by prolonged heat waves, and I would like for her, and it would be good for us to learn more about their initiative and how they were able to do this. So, Ruby?
Hi, everyone. Hot sunny afternoon here from Manila. And it's 40 degrees Celsius here in the Philippines. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for EIAP for inviting us and for this opportunity again to be part of this program. As mentioned earlier by Brother Abel, we are in the same network implementing our plans for the E4SD. Aside from implementing the plans we made during the event, we are also striving and looking for some ways on how we can embed this campaign with our union, and of course to be part of our campaigns as a national campaign in our union. So just to give you some context, it's like a deja vu here in the Philippines. Last year, there are 7,000 schools had suspended in-person classes and shift to flexible learning options due to extreme heat. It affects like 3.6 million students due to heat waves. Many teachers and students experience and suffer dizziness. Some of us headaches and nosebleeds and fainting during this time, and still happening here today. Especially now, there are class suspension all over and adjustment in class schedules. And in a country like us, in the Philippines, as you know, that we have poor healthcare system and education system, heat waves also add more pressure on our healthcare facilities and personnel, especially in our schools. These are not, of course, new issue for us in the union. It reflects the long-standing issue of us within our school and health system that aggravates during this kind of crisis that we have experienced. As we shared, in the Philippines, when there is typhoon, our schools automatically become evacuation centers. And during the heat waves, the go-to solution of the government is suspension of classes and disruption of our classes also, because that's the go-to solution. And for us, as a union, we have a long-standing backlogs and classroom shortages, teaching personnel and healthcare workers in our school. So the question is, what have we done? So we put forward several demands to the government. These are the demands. Number one, the immediate release of emergency funds for the urgent repair of water sanitation facilities, ventilation, and school clinics because of a lack of budget cuts and backlogs of the governments in the facilities, in classroom and ventilations. We push this demand to the government. And number two, the inclusion of unions in any consultations regarding the development of emergency protocols. Like, for example, now, during the consultations of the Department of Education, we make sure that the unions and union officers and organizations are part of the consultations to ensure that there must be continuous learning and continuous classes in our in our children during this kind of heat waves. Then number 3, the allocation of funds for additional health personnel when ventilated classroom and climate resilient school environment. The Alliance of Concerned Teachers are very active, especially during the budget deliberation, during the hearings, to push forward our demands for the government to invest in our education facilities, to invest in teaching and non-teaching personnel, and of course, to the welfare of our teachers and students, especially during this time. And then number 4, the inclusion of climate education in the curriculum, and we make sure that we are not just decarbonizing, but also we must assert that we must decolonize our education. There is a lot of concern in our education system, and when we say climate education, we made sure that it's very comprehensive, because there's a lot of problems, especially on the language, especially on how the government makes sure that the teachers and the students are make part of this crisis that we are experiencing. So what we've done is that we engaged, of course, the government. We launched this campaign, putting forward those demands to the government. Number 1, we have to adjust our school calendar, because since April and May are the hottest months in our country, we make sure that there must be a shifting in our school calendar, and we successfully advocated for the school calendar to retain to June to March starting next school year. So that's one of our successes. We made sure that the president and the Department of Education Secretary spoke about it, and we are part of social dialogues and campaigns inside and outside our classrooms, even on the street, to the government to take action on that. And I know that it's very difficult for the government to make that decision, because there's a law that there must be like a number of days for a contact days for the students, but we because of the clamor of the teachers and students and even parents during this time, we are successfully launched that campaign. And then we also push the government to release clear guidelines on overtime pay. We can't imagine that we must experience this kind of situation for the government to release a specific guidelines for overtime pay for the personnel and the teachers who extend or render their extra hours, not only during the time of disaster, but preparing our schools, even Saturday, Sunday, and even holidays, especially that time when we experience disasters, and then the schools become an evacuation center. So we made sure that the government released that guidelines for our teachers and non-teaching personnel, or the education support personnel. And then we made headlines in various news outlets. Before this webinar, I was also interviewed by one of the media to the situation and our demands. And then we are part of newspaper, radio programs to amplify our calls and our demands, push forward our concerns in this advocacy. And then we are also part of Congress hearings and advocacy. Since we have a representative in the Congress, Congresswoman Franz Castro, we're very active in congressional hearings for the funding for climate resilient classroom and addressing the impacts of heat waves in our country. We took part in the climate actions such as Earth Day mobilization, budget hearings in the Congress and Senate, and then we also have this effort to protect our fellow unionist and regional coordinator Echo Dangla, who was recently abducted, because in the Philippines, as you know, we are among the most dangerous countries in the world for environmental defenders and activists. And what's happening now in the Philippines, it is not just literally hot, but there's a hot issue now happening in the Philippines. There are arrest warrant from the ICC, from our former president, Rodrigo Duterte. And I think that as a climate justice advocates and unionists, accountability is also part of our campaign for climate justice. So That's also one of our campaign during that time and even now. And then we revived the ACT's Indigenous Peoples Network, the Save Our School Network, because we believe that Indigenous communities hold the richest knowledge and experience in environmental protection. So we collaborate with our experts from various universities in the Philippines. We aim to promote nationalist education because, as mentioned earlier, there are a lot of problems in the education system, and putting those inputs about climate education is not just one issue, but it's also an issue of how we can see that the education can understand from the marginalized sectors, from the communities, and even our children's. So we make sure that this climate education is comprehensive, and we reach a lot of networks to have this movement. We call it Kilos Na para sa Makabayang Edukasyon in Filipino. It's a movement for nationalist education that promotes climate education here in the Philippines. So, to synthesize, so what we need to put into this course and action in Just Transition, number one, so we need quality education. And when we are talking about climate education, it must be a level. Now, we are contributing to the Department of Education, especially on their curriculum strand, for us to be part of that technical working group, because as of now, the curriculum now is also transitioning, and we want to put forward this climate education during that transition. And then we need to be involved in policy making. We need to recognize that we are part of climate stakeholders. We need to ensure social protection, especially our union work, our trade union work is also part, of course, of our advocacy for climate justice. So we need to be part of it. And then lastly, we need to be involved in climate action, making sure that we are society that really prioritize people lives over profit. And as the molders of this future generation, let us both protect our planet. Together, let us act now. Climate justice now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Ruby. That was a a really wonderful presentation. I especially appreciated the part where you where ACT also demanded guidelines on overtime pay. I think that's very important, especially as as disruptions in the classroom happen more often because of heat waves. There will be times when you will have to either work more, or even you have to stop because it's there. You have no choice. It's the classroom is uninhabitable. I think that's a very important step in demanding for climate adaptation. That's a very important way to adapt in the classroom. And I think there's there if we'd like to monitor this, we'd like to know more about this eventually, what kinds of developments are going to happen. And I'm sure a lot of us will learn a lot. We will learn a lot about this. We will learn many things about how to strategize for these kinds of things. I also just wanted to remind everyone that I'm not sure if you are part of the Kelima newsletter. Last year we also we also launched a heat stress in the classroom infographic, which I will share now with you. It was based off the webinar that we also had last year, where we invited an expert from the WHO, and these are clear guidelines on what teachers can do inside the classroom, or what clear measures you can take, so as to lower your chances or risks of being affected by heat stress. This has been translated into different languages, in Japanese, Chinese, and I believe and even Hindi. I will have to ask Anand and then the EIEP office, of course, on how we can better circulate this document, which is it's in A3 poster size, so you can actually print this if you want. Of course, if you'd like to translate this into your own language, whether it's in Bahasa Indonesia or Bahasa Malaysia, please let me know. Send me an email. I will type my email there, and we can do something about it. We can translate it into your language, and I believe that would be helpful as a tool for you. So now I would like to open the floor for anyone who wants to share their experiences, or if you have any questions before, because I also have a few questions for our speakers. Is there anyone who would like to speak, or like to share something? If not, I would like to ask maybe one or two, a few questions to each of our speakers. So first of all, I'd like to call on Miss Norza. Are you there? Are you there, Miss Norza?
Yeah, I'm here.
That's okay. So I just wanted to ask, so the awareness raising program of NUTP was focused primarily on the primary level, and I think that's a really important step. Why did you choose to focus on the primary level, and why do you think this is important, not just for the students, of course, and their communities, but also for educators? I guess that's also, I guess when you work with younger students, it's a bit more encouraging, right? Like I guess I would suppose. So
Yeah.
why was this an important step for you?
Yeah, I think this is because when we promote, when we do it with our primary school students, we're going to make sure that they have early awareness and habit formation on that. As we know that young children are highly receptive to new ideas. So we, as an adult, need to teach them about climate change and sustainability. Early will have to instill eco-friendly habit that can last a lifetime. So at this age, I believe that we're going to absorb a good things. So they're going to put early awareness inside them, and then they will continue that to spread habit formation about the climate change and environment responsibility at the early stage till they become adult. And then the other thing is going to build them a responsibility, because I believe that when children understand the impact of their action on this planet, they will grow up with a sense of responsibility to protect it, not only for them but also for their future generations. And I also believe that this is also can encourage a critical thinking among the kids, because at the early stage they're going to wonder why I need to do this, why I need to do that. So it's going to encourage them to have a critical thinking, why they need to have this kind of activities, this kind of awareness. So they're going to know, oh, they do this because they're going to have something in the futures. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
And then of course, that I believe that today they are children, but tomorrow they are a decision maker. So they're going to make a decision for our earth to ensure that we have good environment, and then we have earth that still can what we call that one, avoid from any environmental disaster in future. That's all.
Yes, thank you very much, Miss Norsa. That was a really that really makes sense, because I would it shows that you are forward thinking. You are thinking more of the future, and I think that's very important. I would like to ask, well, I would like to call on Miss Mega Novita, and I'd like to ask maybe just one question. In your presentation, you mentioned that focusing on extracurricular activities that, take them beyond the classroom, take students beyond the classroom is an effective strategy for students in Indonesia. Why is this important in your context, in the Indonesian context?
All right. So thank you for the question. First, we aware that it is gonna be very tough to include the climate change education in the curriculum because it is a long way to go. It's not only inside the teachers, but also it's a policy makers. So other than we just demanding to the government, which is require a lot of steps to pass, then we start with the initiative that what we can do in the real one, the just in front of our eyes, like do the easiest way, like realizing the extracurriculum with the activity for climate change. That's the easiest way. We haven't done it so far, but we move towards that direction. So first, we have to empower with the teacher. We have to educate the teacher first. We have to improve their awareness first, then pass to the education in the class, like by any means, like with a course also, it's no problem. But to make it formal in the curriculum, it will be difficult. Honestly, that I guess that most of you also face the same problem with us. So the easiest way, what we think is do with the curriculum. But of course, like the 3 Ds that I have talked earlier, first one, we have to empower the teacher first, make them aware that they are in the big role. They have a big role. They have big power to change their class. Start with their class. So last year in December 2nd, 2024, we start with it massive workshop. It's a big workshop, a hybrid workshop, online, offline, not only educators, but also involving the policymakers. But we don't know, we are not sure whether it can be proceed with the inclusion in the curriculum or not, because it's a long way. That's why we start with small steps. We go to that direction, and then we are very positive. We are sure by ourselves that we can do all that together. Slowly, of course.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Novita. That's a really innovative way of integrating climate change into the curriculum, let's say, because or at least into the classroom, because if I understand that it will take a long time and it's a lot of hard work to form.
And it's not in our hand, right? It's not
Yes,
in our
exactly.
hand. Yeah.
At least with those let's say you work arounds.
Yeah, at least we are not stopping in this step. We have to move forward. A little step is also okay, better than doing nothing.
Yes, that's I agree. So thank you very much for sharing your insights. I'd like to call on now Sir Abel, Dr. Karaan, because I think in your presentation I really felt, or at least I really saw the importance, the value of union collaboration, because all four EIAP affiliated education unions in the Philippines really worked on this, right? Like one FFW and ACT, they worked on the manifesto. The NATO and TOPS, they were working more on the let's say the workshop, right? And then raising awareness or training the membership. What did you learn from this experience of union collaboration, and why do you think it's important in climate education work? And of course, I'd like to ask, why was it important for you to rephrase climate education as a right, rather than it just being, part of being integrated into the curriculum, which is of course important, which was of course correct, but taking it for taking it one step forward, let's say, by declaring it as a right is quite for me is quite different. It's innovative.
Yeah. Thank you, Sister Elena, for the questions. Of course, the first question requires our own experience. And what we had found out that teachers unions will be best in the positions in educating the community when we are properly also coordinating with agencies or organizations working towards this goal. We had strengthened our efforts as regards our own roles in educating the learners in terms of environmental protection, climate justice, and just transitions, because we had received a lot of insights coming from the community developers themselves. And we believe that this collaboration had strengthened our own foundational knowledge as regards the approaches to climate action. The second thing is this: in what way that we're able to come up with the more refined approach to climate education, because we believe that teachers are a reckoning force in terms of the climate justice, and we cannot take this on our shoulders only by ourselves. We really need the community, other agencies and groups, as well as the efforts from the government to make sure that the future generations will have a better world that they have to receive from the present generation. And the third one, what had made us convinced that instead of integrating climate education in the curriculum, we have to emphasize that there is a right inherent to this. Because sisters and brothers, the right to a better future is an obligation of the present generation. And we have to make it sure that human rights are respected, as well as recognized by the government agencies, that this climate education is not just a social issue, it is a human rights issue. So if we're not going to anchor on that premise, we will not be able to address the problem of climate changes, as well as the adverse impacts of climate change to the Philippines. And take note, Philippines is one of the most adversely affected countries in terms of climate changes. That's why we really have to make our efforts look at the situation that climate education is a matter of human rights and not just a course in our national or local curriculum. That will be all, Sister Alana, and thank you for the opportunity to amplify these things. Thank you.
Thank you po, Sir Abel. That is really important. Like, making sure that the way that we view, or that teachers or educators remember or how they understand the climate crisis or climate education for that matter is from the standpoint of human rights, because it is a human right to be able to understand what is going on in the world right now, and that includes the climate crisis. So thank you very much, Dr. Caraan. And lastly, I'd like to ask Ms. Ruby Bernardo about their work on, demanding clear guidelines on overtime pay, which is in some ways related to work stoppages, right? Due to climate change. What was your experience in demanding this to the government, and also what prompted you to demand this? Was this a demand, or was this something that was demanded by the membership? Was this something that how did this demand form in within ACT?
Thank you, Alana. And I agree with Brother Abel that climate justice is also a human rights issue, because as we also demanding for a just transition, we must also consider the education workers, because in the Philippines, our situation is a mess even without this climate crisis, and it's being exacerbated because of this climate crisis that we've experienced. And as a unionist, we must also consider the rights of our membership, and the overtime pay, and also the welfare and benefits of our teachers is a long-standing issue that we've experienced. So that in this climate emergency, we must also recognize that it needs urgent action, and that's urgent actions lead us to that particular demands that as education workers, as being tagged that we teachers have this green job, we must also consider our welfare. For example, as I mentioned before, in the Philippines, when there's a disaster, the teachers is not just a teacher, but also expected to the disaster response, where in fact they are also affected by the typhoons, for examples. And now during the heat waves, we are expected that we are nurses, we are clinic teachers who cater the long line of students experience dizziness, nosebleeds, and so on. And this is too much for being overworked and underpaid before this crisis. So we look into that. And aside from that, I also like to express one of the particular demands, I think, of the union is when we are demanding for climate education. This is not only we know that without climate education there could be no action, and teachers had this perfect position to influence people. And we know in the very first day of being a union member, collective action is very important. And when we say climate education, I think we are in this mess. Not we must consider this thoughts and norms that we are in this mess not because we contribute it equally, but because we are in this very clear set of structures of inequality in our society. We cannot address climate crisis in just 3 hours. We can just recycle, reuse, and so on, lights off. We must consider that we must partner with our community. We must partner with our parents and students on that holistic approach in our campaign, so that we can demand all of our concerns and campaigns in this matter. And that's the learnings that's what I've learned in our campaign, that it's not the issue of only one particular sector. It's the issue of the humanity, and it needs urgency, and we need collective actions on this. And as union of education worker, we must be seated on the negotiation for climate emergency, because union must be recognized as a social partner in identifying the transition process in this climate justice that we are campaigning. So that's all. Thank you, Alana.
Thank you very much, Ruby. Very well said. I think you basically encapsulated or summarized the goal of our program today. So thank you very much for that. And then that you know uh stressing the need for multi-sectoral involvement, a collaboration among not just among among education unions, which ACT, NATO, TOPS, and FFW have done quite splendidly, but also with other sectors, because it does not just affect one. This does not affect what happens within the education sector. Also, is being experienced by other sectors, and I think by building solidarity among trade unions is especially that's going to make the social movement more powerful. So thank you very much for highlighting that. And of course, if there is if is there anyone who would like to share something, please raise your hand, or you may just speak directly. Anybody from the floor? It would be great to hear from our colleagues in Malaysia, Indonesia, from I think we also have colleagues from Thailand, I suppose. I'm not sure, but if anyone wants to speak or to say anything, please, this is now your just if you just want to express no or just tell us about your experiences last year about the heat stress, we'd also appreciate that. Yes, Miss Jing. Yes po.
Yes, thank you so much, Alana. I had a great day today, hearing the important informations coming from our sisters and brothers. And I believe that upon looking at hearing and looking at the presentation, I did not see any presentation that will talk about the different laws of the countries. Now, like in the Philippines, we have plenty of laws as regards to mitigating climate change. But of course, in the union, it is a part of the discussion. It is one of the contents of the seminars or whatever education program we have. But of course, since I talk about the laws, there are many laws, but the implementation is something that you desire. And like for example, in Indonesia, our sister made mention that it is very difficult to integrate climate education in the curriculum. And we also feel that, no? We also feel that. But of course, this is now a challenge because we should not be sleeping on the problem until, since we still have time to do, and Education International is lead or helping us. I think we should look at our laws and monitor how it is implemented in particular countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miss Jing. I agree. There are already laws concerning climate mitigation in most countries, and because most countries are already party to the Paris Agreement, which sets out, the pathways to these policies nationally. But of course, that's having the laws there is one thing, but implementing them is another. So I agree. Thank you very much for raising that very good point, Miss Jing. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? If not, okay. Yes, Keiko.
Thank you. I already wrote in the chat. Thank you very much for all the wonderful reports. And I agree with Luby. I think climate education is rated with all kind of rights, human rights, right to education, any other rights. And how do you say that? It's rated with the future, but also the current working condition and the current education conditions. And so we need to have like two approaches to mitigate the current impact of the climate change, and also mitigate the impact for the future generation. So I think that your reports are fully covered all the points. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Keiko. That's very encouraging. Anyone else who would like to maybe share something? If not, then okay, sorry. Sorry, Mr. Ray. Please, you may now take the floor. Yeah.
Thank you to all, good morning to everyone. I just want to make clarification with the report of Sister of Manila. In particular meeting, exactly in charge of my class. So if you will allow me, permit me to go to
A little choppy.
the situation, because they are all jump-packed, even though that we have already identified the number of students that's supposed to be in the classroom. But again, I would like to make a justification with regards to the climate change or the climate situation. Good for the Davao City, we are the place of our former president, that we have sometimes mayroong maulan na time or rainy season, but again, it is not a guarantee that we will be having a very nice season, a very nice climate here. So again, we are trying on the mitigative measures for the weather or for the time change. We are to in government, so that during that time, there's a lot of things that may happen for students, not only for the students, but also for the teachers. There's having intentions, a little more to so influence
Okay. From what I gathered, I think you're highlighting the long-standing issues of course, classroom, not overpop, there are too many students in the classrooms, and of course that makes it a lot harder to manage during heat waves or even during other climate-related disasters. Did I get that correctly? I hope. So thank you for sharing that, sir. Mr. Ray. It's a pity that you have poor signal in the Philippines right now. But thank you for participating. Okay, so I think I will hand over to Anand for his for a few words. Oversized class. Thank you, Ma'am G.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alana, and thank you everyone for your active participation in this webinar. I think I will start with the last comment about the oversized classrooms, which I think is very important issue because the governments are not prioritizing appointing enough teachers in the classrooms. Governments are not providing enough classrooms. Governments are not making investments in the resilience of the education system, which is making us more vulnerable to the climate change related events, which is happening, which we are seeing across Asia Pacific. That is why we have a flagship campaign that we call Go Public Fund Education. And I'm glad to report that the campaign is growing. And of course, Philippines, Indonesia, and hopefully Malaysia are the countries that we are working directly with, or would be working directly with through the campaign, advocating for better funding, better investments in teachers and education, which I hope would address the challenges of big classrooms, oversized classrooms, and so on and so forth. But what I was more encouraged today is by the fact that we started this climate work at the regional office with a very small initiative, like as a follow-up to the Global Teach for Climate Conference. And then during the pandemic, we thought, why not use the online media to bring our education units together? So we had that online conference. The interest were growing. And today, now we see is through small investments, through our project, through our support, we could organize some big events, we can deliver some good results, and we are bringing climate change in the union business, and unions are effectively advocating for climate resilient classrooms, climate well preparedness of our education systems to respond to climate related events, and also for teachers' preparedness to teach climate. So that has been encouraging us. What I'm going to request you to continue engaging with us. We have plans for this year and beyond on climate change. One request I saw is the translation of our heat stress fact sheet into different languages. We will need a little of your help. We have the fact sheet available in English, Hindi, Japanese, Chinese. If you want the fact sheet to be in your language, either you connect us with some of your leaders or send us the text, translate the text from English into Bahasa Melayu, Bahasa Indonesia. We will lay it out and send a copy to you, or any other language. We have limited capacity for translation within the office, but we are happy to support any such initiative. Another thing I would also request you is keep us informed on what are your needs in terms of engaging on climate change issues or just transition issues. And we would be happy to work with you, your organization, your leadership, to support your interventions, support your needs, and see what we can achieve collectively. As Ruby reminded us this is a collective effort. We cannot, one organization, one person cannot win this fight. So we have to work together. We have to work collectively. So we are with you in this fight for a better future of our next generation. And we would be continuing our efforts. This year, we will have the similar conference that we had in Southeast Asia in Kathmandu, but that does not mean that our interventions in Southeast Asia, in Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia would stop. We would be continuing. We would be happy to continue this campaign in these countries. So please be in touch. Let us know what you need, how we can support, and we are happy to engage more and strengthen your voices at the national level, demanding for climate change education, demanding for a just transition in education sector, and demanding for a resilient public education, climate resilient public education system. So with these words, thank you very much for your engagement. This was one of the very encouraging, very informative webinars, and we would like to continue these discussions, webinars, and our efforts. We also have a newsletter, as Alana reminded us. So in case you're not receiving the newsletter Kelima from us, which is a quarterly newsletter, please drop us your email IDs. We would be happy to put you on the mailing list and you'll get those new newsletters. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to those for your different time zones. Thank you. And with this, we close the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. See you again next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sis Alana. Thank you, Brother Anand.
Thank you.